last time we saw each other was at about 6 in the morning on the streets of Vancouver.
Wasn't that the most random experience?
Yeah, and it took me a couple seconds to kind of... I was so tired that I was just kind of...
I was crossing the street and I saw you walking.
Each other in the street, and
like,
I was like,
do I know you?
Exactly.
Do you know me?
Very, very strange.
Weird.
What's new?
New album, man.
Yeah.
That's what's new.
Well, here's the thing. As a music fan, I'm always interested in the kind of period between albums for artists, and especially when you're listening to the albums and you have kind of an emotional bond with that album, you kind of get a sense of what was going on in the singer's life, in the band's life. Right. But for you, it's a bit of a disconnecting experience because there's so much going on within your albums.
Yes. I mean, like, I took 400 days exactly to make the new album. So between the first one and the second one, it's just a little over a year, and I got in this zone. Worked with a lot of really cool people this round, and the album just came out today, so it's a good sort of like, it's a good way to sort of end the last year. Yeah. It's one of those things, you know what I mean? It's just like hide in a cave, make a record, and then come out and promote it.
Well, I imagine making a record the second time around is completely different anyway.
Yes.
But for you especially, there was so much going on for you making the first record, and it took so long, and I mean, I was hearing you were having anxiety attacks.
Years, man. That first record took 5 years to make. I got really sick. I was like, lost all this weight, and I was like, sort of turned this mad scientist just going crazy in my basement studio of my house, you know. So the new record didn't take quite as long. It was a little easier to make, but I mean, like, if you don't suffer for something, it's not going to turn out as strong as it's going to be unless you put some work into it, you know.
What was the hardest part about making this record? That being said.
I think just sort of dealing with the pressure of making an album that was successful and having fans, having people that like your music, and then trying to sort of come up with a way to outdo yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a little pressure on yourself to do that.
Because you deal with so many, I guess, other artists, you feature a lot of artists in your songs, was it easier getting people the second time around because you had this body of work to show, or was it harder?
No, I mean, like, with the first record, you know, I kind of came out of left field. You know, I was working with Dallas Green and Rain Maida and Finger 11 and all these great bands and things like that. And then people sort of understood where I was coming from and who I was. So when I approached the next record, I could go up to popular artists and be like, do you want to be on my album? And they actually kind of knew who I was. Mm-hmm. But it was more about the music. It wasn't any easier, per se, because if an artist likes a song, they're going to want to do it. If they don't like it, they're not going to want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're talking about the idea of kind of knowing who you are, it's hard to kind of sell yourself to an audience or to other people. What was kind of your road of kind of self-discovery through music?
Well, I mean, like, I've been in music since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, I was raised on it. I was born into this, like, recording studio that my dad built for me as a kid, you know. So I was always sort of had the tools to make interesting sounds and produce. And that's why I wanted to get into collaboration, working with different artists and featuring different vocalists and things like that. So I've always been exploring different ways to come up with, like, you know, making an album more creative than just a band. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Eternal TV is always these bands, you know what I mean? Same sort of thing, same sort of videos, but always wanted to do something different. That's where Neverending White Lights came from. That's where I came from musically.
So then I guess the question I'm sure a lot of people ask you all the time is kind of, where do you take this? Do you think about kind of 5-10 years in the future? Are you always constantly looking for this collaboration?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I called my first album Act 1 so that I could call the next one Act 2, Act 3, and just, like, you know, keep myself employed for the next, 15 albums, and just continuously just make new creations and sort of sequence and do these concept albums. And that's what I plan to do with Neverending White Lights anyways.
Fantastic.